How's it going, everyone? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMoviescreens.com, and I got another movie to review for you guys, and that would be Logan. This is the third film in the solo Wolverine franchise, and it's also the second film directed by James Mangold. He also directed the Wolverine from 2013. So, listen, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. As you can tell from behind me, I am a superhero fan. I'm also a film fan. I'm a superhero film fan. I'm an X-Men fan. If you can nail all three of those, you're going to deliver a good movie, and I'm just going to simply love it. So how is Logan? Forget just X-Men. It is one of the best superhero films I have ever seen, and it's also just a good film. Now I'm going to take my fanboy glasses off for a second and actually talk to you this, just like a normal movie and critique it like a real film. And it might seem like I'm fanboying, but I wrote detailed notes this time. I usually wing these reviews, so I want to be as precise as possible and tell you guys why this is one of the best in this X-Men franchise and one of the best super movies in general. So let's get real and break down Logan. So let's start with the writing and directing, the writing in particular, and the story. All right, so for the story itself, Professor X and Wolverine are in hiding. They're among a handful of mutants that are still alive, and they just don't want to cause any trouble, so they try to lay low and they don't really get anyone's business. There's this little girl that comes along and pretty much gets into their situation, and she's being chased by bad guys, and then now they're on the run. It's essentially the plot. That's all I'm going to tell you. This review is spoiler free. I'm not going to say anything spoilery, so you are safe with me. So along with the story, the overall tone, it's got like this desolate, bleak vibe to it, but it's also somewhat still beautiful in its Mother Nature beauty, if you will. So, but it is interesting to kind of see these aging X-Men characters that we've kind of grown up and loved almost for 2 decades now, to kind of see them age, with like their skin and their hair color and just the way they kind of, move themselves, and they're a little slower now, and, they're starting to develop health problems and whatnot. So it's interesting to kind of see them get to that point where like they're not as strong as what they used to be, and then you can actually get like the sense of danger that they're about to, get themselves into. So I really appreciate that. Essentially, this film is a chase movie with emotional weight. And that's really kind of hard to come by. I know a lot of people compare it to like a Mad Max type of deal where it's like, that was just a chase, runaway movie, but and that also had some weight to it. But this one, I think, really kind of captured that Wolverine spirit from the comics. If we're talking purely Wolverine film, this film is about as perfect as you can get in terms of telling this man's story and really kind of developing it into something even more than what we thought was possible. We thought the character was done being developed and there was no more depth to him. But when you get him in the older stages of life, there's a lot more kind of, you can chip away at his character and really kind of understand and get to know more. And it's just really fascinating. This story has humor. It has drama. It has the gruesome violence from that R rating, and it blends it in together so well to the likes I've really never seen as an X-Men film. I've been a fan of this franchise ever since 2000. I was 10 years old when it came out. I did not see the first one in theaters. I saw the second one in theaters, but I was 12 years old. And I've just kind of loved this, the world that X-Men has created. But Logan takes it to a whole nother level in terms of filmmaking in general. The amount of character depth that we get from these characters that we already know and love for, like I said, this amount of time is simply impressive. Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman, their legacy when they retire from acting, they will be known as Professor X in the Wolverine. It's just simply incredible to kind of watch the story unfold and you just be engaged with these characters in the story from start to finish. The supporting cast is also really wonderful too, and it didn't feel like anyone was wasted. It felt like everyone had their place in the movie. And I was keeping an eye on that. I was like, oh, it feels like maybe these characters will be wasted. No, they actually, developed these supporting characters to the fullest of their extent, which is a supporting character. I guess one of the a few of the nitpicks I have with the actual story and the writing portion, there is one character in the film. I'm not going to say who it is because that will get into spoiler territory. I felt like he was a bit underused. But that's just really me being picky. It doesn't really affect the overall quality of the film. I just wish there was a little bit more of that character. So I felt it was a bit underused, but I felt the presence and the terror that character was trying to go for. I just wish there was a little bit more. There was also one scene. Not going to say what it was. Once again, spoiler territory. This is spoiler free. But there's one scene in particular where it was a little bit questionable on how it was filmed and whatnot, and dealing with like I said, it's really kind of hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil it. But there is one scene in particular. It's very important for the story. I get that, but the way it was kind of put together and filmed and stuff, some of the shots seemed a little questionable on how it happened and how no one got caught or whatever. See, I've already said too much. That was about as vague as I can go. So besides those little nitpicks and maybe being selfish again and wishing was a little longer because we've grown up with these characters. This is 17 years in the making. We want to see as much as possible before Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart hang up their roles in this universe. So I wish it was a little longer. I know it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, but I thought it was just it was told so well. And we'll get to the editing in just a second, but I wish it was a little longer. Let's start with let's go to the directing now. James Mangold knows this character now inside and out. He knew him in the Wolverine, and he really kind of adapted him to the best of his abilities, and he was really fun to watch. And there was a lot more added to his character in the Wolverine. This takes it to a whole nother level in terms of bringing that character, more grounded and more kind of understanding who he is and providing the snark and the sarcasm and the whole anti-hero nature about him while still having a heart of gold and caring about the people who ultimately care about him. The violence in the film and what James Mangold decided to do with the violence. I know the R rating is a little controversial considering the fact that the X-Men films have been PG-13 up until this point, with Deadpool being the exception, being in that universe and being the first R-rated film in that universe. I never felt like the violence was gratuitous, and I think the horrific nature actually provided the stakes and the danger that we needed for our characters to actually care about them when ultimately the shit hits the fan. Every hit that was made felt bone crunching. You felt the blood just like fly out. You felt every single blow to the bodies that Wolverine was slicing up and jamming his knives into. I actually think the R rating actually helped this character and really got a sense of getting his ass kicked. Because up until this point, yeah, he's invincible. He's got that adamantium body and whatnot and skeleton. But as he's getting older, his powers are starting to wear. So when he's getting his ass kicked in this one, and the violence is just brutal and gratuitous and gory like that, you put these characters in the danger zone essentially, and you really start to feel like they're not going to make it. You start to feel that worry as you're sitting there, like, Wolverine, please, like, get up, fight back. I know you're a little weaker than usual, but you got this. I believe in you, Wolverine. I believe in you. I really honestly think that the violence and the R rating actually helps the Wolverine character on how he was truly written, and really just kind of adds that extra flavor to the X-Men universe. And it is something new that we had never seen before, considering the fact that the previous ones have been PG-13. Like I said before, the tone of the entire directing felt very grounded, and it didn't even feel like a superhero film. And it could also just stand alone as a great character study of this person with super abilities, if you don't want to call it a superhero film. But so I just thought the whole thing just felt way more grounded than any of the other X-Men, and those did feel grounded and a little bit more accessible to reality or whatever. But this one it felt like we were just watching these characters that one of them has knives that come out of his hands, and one of them that can control people's minds, type of deal. And you don't even think about it as a superhero film; you just think of it as a greatly told film. So I thought the direction was just beautiful, and I thought James Gold handled that character very well. Getting into the acting, Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart have always been great in their roles, but there was something about this one where it felt more raw. Like, I felt like when you watch the other X-Men films, yeah, they do a great job and you see them in their roles, but it felt very studio meddling, like their hands were metal in there. It just felt very clean, and, you know, it just didn't feel like there was, you know, a lot of oomph to their performances. Now, there's a couple scenes in previous X-Men films where you go, wow, that was a great scene, and that actor portrayed that scene very, very well. But with this one, there was something really just raw and emotional about the performances, to where when shit hits the fan, and there's some really kind of powerful moments in this film, you felt it. You could just look into their eyes and you could feel everything that is happening, and they really just sold it. And on top of that, going back to the R rating and the violence, they sold that too. They sold the choreography, and they sold everything about that. There was something about these two, Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman, that just clicked for them to really kind of bring their character home and just do the best that they can and go out with a bang, in terms of, you know, them saying this, you know, might be their last one. I think Patrick Stewart said this is his last one, and Hugh Jackman said it might be his last. But if it is their last film, this cements it. This cements them as their as these characters forever. It just does. And I'm not saying it didn't in the past, but this just kind of, like I said, cements it. Going to the cinematography of the film, it has like this beautiful Western type of look to it. It's a lot of wide shots, and you can see the beautiful land that they inhabited, or the mountains, or the woods, or the cities that they're in, and, you know, whether it be a good part of the city or a bad part of the city. What was interesting about the film in terms of contrast, while the violence was super graphic and gory and stuff, and, you know, there was a lot of turmoil happening within the characters and this the action, you know, around them, and kind of like the chaos in the center of it, was this like beautiful like melody of scenery. So it was like it was a really cool contrast to see the beauty of Mother Earth, and then this like really kind of dark and like violent contrast. So I don't know. I really dug that. I'm looking too far into it. I'm just looking too far into. I have no clue. But also with the wide shots, and considering the fact that it takes place on like a lot of land, the mountains and stuff, it provides an epic scope to the film that really kind of inhabits these characters in a larger world than what's actually being played out on screen. Because there's a lot of scenes where, you know, it's just a bunch of characters very intimately talking, or, you know, fighting or whatever. But these shots in the cinematography make it seem like these are two little specks in this gigantic world filled with humans and mutants and stuff. And I really kind of felt that presence from the cinematography. A little negative on the cinematography, just a little bit. Some of the action scenes were a bit too shaky. Now, for the most part, they were wide establishing shots, or very long shots, so you can see the brutality of the violence and really kind of get a sense of, you know, the gravitas of it, if you will. There was a couple of shots that were a little too shaky and a little too quickly edited for my taste, to where you couldn't really see what was going on. But I'm talking to you, it's like a minuscule, like thin margin of those shots. All the rest are wonderful. So getting into the editing, playing out like a Western, it's like a wonderful slow burn. It's almost like the director, James Mangold, almost plays it like a stunning symphony of chaos, emotion, and depth. And I think even if you are an X-Men fan or a film fan, I think you'll appreciate how this film is put together. It's just so well done. And just, like I said, just kind of has everything all in it, in terms of, you know, like I said earlier, the humor, the drama, and like I said, the chaos of like everything just happening. It flowed together so well at 2 hours and 15 minutes. Like I said up at top, I'm selfish. I wanted more. I could have watched a 3-hour long cut of this. And I don't know if this is true, but I really hope, fingers crossed, that James Mangold actually has a longer cut and you have that for the Blu-ray. I'm okay with that. So another thing I can really comment about the editing is that when we get into the action set pieces or sequences or whatever, the tempo changes. It is fast. It is brutal, like I said, and it really kind of immerses you into the violence that is being portrayed on the screen. And I'm telling you, Wolverine stabs a bunch of people in this movie with his claws. But every single time he stabs someone through a face or a chest or whatever, I felt it. And just the way it was put together, I felt like that that R rating just like hit me in the face. I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. But it was really graphic, but it works though. So the action scenes are edited very well together. And also when it gets to more of the dialogue heavy scenes, it starts to slow down a bit in the tempo, and it really kind of lets you breathe with these characters and let these characters kind of develop right in front of your eyes, and you care about them even more than you already did. And that's the beauty of editing, folks. Like when you get into the action sequences, you can it focuses on the choreography and just the fast nature and the excitement. And then when you get into the conversations, it makes it a little bit more palpable and a little bit more, grounded with reality. If you, draw them out and just let them just breathe on their own, and you really just kind of attach yourselves to these characters emotionally. So I think as far as editing, I think everything just plays so organically. I mean, I don't think you could have edited this movie any more perfect than you could. There's nothing that I would take out. There's nothing I would add. Like I said, I just want more. I just wanted, like I said, 3-4 hours of this thing. I could have watched it all day, all night. I rarely ever talk about this, but I think it is a good section to talk about, considering the fact that I did bring a composer with me who does compose films, commercials, and all that stuff. The music was very interesting. It was a very interesting blend that I've really never heard in X-Men films before. It almost had like this experimental horror vibe to it. And almost like my composer friend mentioned, it almost sounded like the Terminator, almost like that kind of like threatening like presence, like very strong music. And also, like I said, it's got this horror vibe, and almost has like this Frankenstein's monster vibe, like this old school horror vibe with violins and stuff, which actually makes a lot of sense considering the fact that Wolverine is an experiment himself. So it actually is good. A good comparison or whatever, parallel or whatever. Guys, besides those little nitpicks, I honestly cannot think of anything more wrong than this. I explained everything in detail. I try not to be a fanboy as much as possible, but speaking of fanboys, as a fanboy, I love this movie. As a film critic, I still love this movie. It's just one of those experiences where I walked out going, wow, this is one of the best superhero movies I have seen. And I honestly think the adult, mature vibe of the film will definitely set it apart. And it's definitely going to be a movie that's going to explode. You're watching this review right now. All these reviews are going up. I would be shocked if this movie dips below 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I honestly think that not many people are going to hate it. Guys, I love this film. I'm going to give Logan, I'm going to say it. I don't care if you call me a fanboy or blind or whatever. I am blind. I'm going to give Logan an A+. It's just that good. And I thought the ending was satisfying. Like I said, I just wish there was a little, just more. I just want more. But I think the ending is satisfying, and you'll leave that theater feeling, wow, this was almost 2 decades in the making, and it was totally worth it. So what did you guys think of Logan? Have you even heard of it? You probably heard of it. Are you excited about it? Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know, was this a good review for you guys? Was it more Was it in depth? Did it help you decide what this movie is like and whatnot? I hope I did the best I could. I had to write notes down for this one because it's just that damn good, guys. So, yeah, I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com. You can follow me on Twitter. You can subscribe to YouTube. You can follow me on Spreaker. I have a podcast there. I'm hitting the mic and stuff. So all the links will be in the description below. But tune in next time, guys, for whatever I review next. See you guys later. Have a good day, good night, or whenever the hell you're listening to this. Bye-bye.